When you look out the windshield of a moving car late into a weekend night, the passing streetlights start to blur into a hypnotic rhythm. It isolates you from the rest of the sleeping city. But drivers log these hours for a very specific reason. Rent comes due, regardless of how tired you are, and the extra money is a reliable mathematical equation. Most of the fares simply blur together into a baseline of normalcy. Airport travelers catching early flights, loud crowds spilling out of bars, talking on speakerphone. The night shift eventually becomes a purely transactional void. The sheer repetition and exhaustion condition drivers to tune out their surroundings, prioritizing the income over their personal caution. This dark mode digital map shows a single location pin dropped in a completely blank, roadless zone. At 1:20 in the morning, a new ride request appeared right here, in a dense stretch of forest entirely outside the city limits. The immediate instinct when seeing a location devoid of houses or businesses is to decline the trip. But the app displayed an unusually high payout for the fare, pushing that natural hesitation aside. Waiting at the pickup spot was a single man standing beside the road. He carried no luggage, no backpack, and despite the unseasonably warm weather, he was wearing a heavy, dark coat. The driver unlocked the doors. Economic pressure reliably pushes people to override glaring environmental warnings, treating anomalies as just another job. The passenger got into the back seat in total silence. Instantly, the enclosed space of the car filled with a very distinct smell. Not alcohol or smoke, but the heavy scent of wet earth after a rainstorm. Look closely at this rideshare app interface. It shows a completely blank user profile with empty placeholders for a photo and rating. About 20 minutes into the silent drive, the driver finally noticed their passenger's account looked exactly like this. Assuming it was a minor software glitch, the driver kept going. Then, the cellular connection dropped completely, cutting off all communication with the outside world. When digital safety nets collapse, the physical reality of the situation sets in. The driver was now entirely isolated, locked in a moving vehicle with an absolute unknown. As you can see on this interface, the pulsing GPS route continues advancing perfectly along the line, even though the cellular indicator displays 0 bars. The dashboard was operating on a technological paradox. The passenger finally broke the silence. He told the driver they had missed the turn. The driver checked the screen. The route was still tracking straight. When the driver pointed that out, the passenger offered one correction. It wasn't the route's turn. The algorithm was no longer guiding the car. The drive was now governed entirely by the passenger's personal, unseen map. The coordinates eventually ended at an abandoned, pitch-black farmhouse. There were no lights and no vehicles. The driver parked near the gate, but the passenger refused to get out. Instead, he pointed past the property toward the dense woods behind it. The driver firmly refused to go further. The passenger simply smiled, stepped out of the car, and disappeared into the tree line exactly like this. The moment the driver ended the ride, the app crashed. When the system rebooted several minutes later, the entire trip was gone. No payment processing, no passenger history. The digital system had actively purged the anomaly. It left the driver with 0 systemic proof that the pickup ever happened, even after contacting support the next morning. That absolute lack of proof creates a lingering psychological itch. A week later, curiosity compelled the driver to run a search on the farmhouse address. This distressed 23-year-old newspaper clipping surfaced in the results. It documents a local man who vanished near those exact woods over 2 decades ago. Search teams never found him. The black and white photograph included in the article showed a man in a heavy, dark coat. The face matched the silent passenger perfectly, entirely unaged. Modern routing technology doesn't insulate us from local history. It simply opens up new logistical channels for old tragedies to loop back into the present. A month passed. The driver returned to the mundane routine of cleaning the car, vacuuming the back seat to maintain that false sense of normalcy. But wedged tight beneath the floor mat was a physical artifact, an old, brittle piece of paper, completely yellowed with age. Look at the faded handwriting on this yellowed paper. It reads, "Thank you for taking me the rest of the way." It was a message left directly behind the driver's seat. Digital records can easily glitch and vanish, but physical evidence shatters any logical rationalization, leaving a permanent toll. It turns the simple, automatic act of checking a rearview mirror into a lifelong source of dread.